Southside Northwest. This is for the good old days. Back when we was going to the Memorial Coliseum, and then they went to the Rose Garden, and then they brought something new in town.
Welcome back, episode 15. I've got a wonderful special guest co-host for this episode. I'm very excited about it. If you caught the secret segment, we have been talking about this for a long time. I have my good friend, Mr. Eric Lyons from the Electrified Podcast with Eric Lyons. Go ahead and say hello to the audience and say whatever you need to say, plug whatever you want to plug.
I just want to say hello. First of all, thank you for having me on. You can find my podcast almost anywhere, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, anywhere you can think. New schedule, Mondays and Fridays now. I got a YouTube show coming soon, and
awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, let me know when that YouTube show drops. It's
I got you.
Super, super important. We support each other with views and all of that stuff. But we have so much to talk about. There's so much going on, especially in NFL. So let's start with WNBA. Finals are just getting started this week. They start Friday, which is holy shit, it's already going to be October. That's so crazy. October 2nd is when finals start. And the Storm are going to be without Sammy Whitcomb, and the Aces are going to be without Dearica Hamby. Whitcomb is actually left the bubble to be with her wife for the birth of their first child.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was really exciting. I kind of raised an eyebrow when I first saw the headline, because of course it just said that she was leaving the bubble, and I'm like, why on earth would you leave the bubble right before finals? But of course, she pulled the opposite of a Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward, yeah.
She decided to actually go and leave for the birth of their first child, which I personally was like, what? When I saw that Gordon Hayward wasn't leaving. If I don't want to dog on anyone's choices, but I power to her for doing it by herself. But I was like, why would you make your wife go through that?
Look, man, I personally, I'm out. Especially if the series was where it was, it wasn't like it was 2-2 or 1. Bro, go see your baby, please.
Yeah, and you couldn't even bring home a chip for it?
Right.
I don't know. I think later in life, you're going to regret more not being at the birth of your child than you're going to regret not winning that championship this year. I don't know. I don't know. So back to Sammy Whitcomb. I just thought that was really cool. And I wish that I actually, again, not to directly dog on anybody, but I saw that headline on ESPN app. And obviously all the headline said was that she left the bubble. And I just wish they would have given more credit in the headline to the reason why she left, instead of just making it sound like a cop-out. Because that's what caught my attention, was I thought she was copping out. And then in other news, they finally named the Defensive Player of the Year in the WNBA, Candace Parker. But they also kind of snubbed her at the same time because she didn't make the first all defensive team, which was so weird to me. So I don't know why.
See that, and that's what Braun was talking about. How can you give that award to someone but not even give them the credit and being on the first offensive? That makes no sense.
No, it makes zero sense at all. And Candace did take to social media and share one little blurb of thoughts about it, but then she basically posted a photo on Instagram of her sitting on the beach with the hashtag unbothered, and for Candace, obviously, as being part of essentially Laker Nation, obviously the Sparks are the WNBA counterpart, it would mean so much to them to have won a championship, and I know that's Candace's mentality. You know what I mean? She's hashtag unbothered. Yeah, I got Defensive Player of the Year. I got this snub for the all defensive team, but on to the next. She's looking forward to getting better for next season and coming back to win a championship in 2021. So that's kind of all I have to say about that. I love Candace Parker. I've loved her since she's been at Tennessee. I'm a huge Tennessee fan, loves Pat Summitt, etc., etc. But I'm just like all for Candace Parker, so I'm like obviously here for the salt also. on to the obvious and probably the most exciting thing that everybody I think has been waiting for is NBA Finals. Heat versus Lakers. Game 1 starts tonight after we get done recording this, so we'll be on to Game 2 by the time this episode airs. But should 7 games be needed, that will happen on Tuesday, October 13th is when Game 7 is scheduled for, if it's necessary. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and give us your take? You're Heat Nation all the way. So
Look,
how do you think this is going to go down? What do you think? Is there going to be like a volley? Is somebody going to be blown out? Is it going to go 3-1?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. All right. Both of these teams, you know, they go 12-3 on their playoff run. But the Miami had one sweep, and the Lakers didn't sweep anybody. When I look at these two teams, of course, you know, it's Bron and AD, right? But you look deeper into that, Bron, AD, and Kuz are the only ones averaging double digits in the playoffs. You look at Miami, they have 6 players averaging double digits. I think that Miami's guards are better than LA's guards. I'm looking at the hero, you know, Hero and Duncan. They can make threes at any point. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I think Miami overall has a deeper team. I do. I mean, the Lakers are really good. I'm not taking nothing away from the Lakers.
Yeah.
But I'm looking. But you know, you got Jay Crowder, Kelly Olynyk, Dragic, who was a monster. And then, you know, even when, you know, Duncan Robinson and Jimmy is Jimmy, but I think who's going to pose the most problems to LA? I think Bam is going to be a problem. You know,
Bam and Hero.
He's going to give Dwight problems, and he's definitely going to give JaVale problems if they keep giving him that many minutes.
Right, and both of those guys are really easy to frustrate, and once they get frustrated, their game just goes to shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Just absolute trash.
Like Dwight will have 3 fouls in the first quarter. Like that's how that goes.
Time and time again. So
that's
I don't know. I'm obviously repping Lakers this episode. I want the Lakers to win 17 for Kobe. I'm definitely all on that bandwagon, and as a Blazers fan and lifelong Kobe lover / hater, as a Blazers fan. You know, I couldn't really fully love him until he retired. I remember sitting in front of the TV for his last game, just bawling like a baby.
That's literally like.
But I would love to see them do it. But again, I mean, you made several points. I think it's going to be really difficult. I don't think the Heat are going to let them off easy. And Mr. Eric Spoelstra has a story too. I mean, he started in the video room for the Miami Heat. So this is also big for him in a lot of ways too. So I think both teams kind of have that like victory lap story, so to speak. Definitely. You know what I mean? So definitely. I don't know how it's gonna pan out. I was like gonna make us do predictions at the end of the episode, and I'm like, I literally don't have a prediction for who's gonna win tonight.
I have no clue. I just don't think that Miami is gonna go out as easy as people think. I think they're gonna give them a fight. I think they're gonna give them a fight.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I was talking to somebody else, ironically, somebody that works with ESPN, and they were like, there's going to be an overtime. And I'm like, you think just one, though? And I'm like, honestly, I would not be surprised if we saw 2 or even more overtimes in the series. Like, these guys are obviously going to come to play. They're going to play some basketball. And while I want to say the Lakers are going to win tonight for the series opener, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami put it to them for game 1.
And I think that, you know, winning the first game is important, but it's like, I think it's going to take for Miami to win 2 straight for them to really get the Lakers' attention. Yeah. I think they're going to have to come out win tonight in game 2 to be like, yo, all right, they're here. Like, you know, and I knew this was coming. I tweeted this November 3rd. I said it was going to be Miami and the Lakers in the finals, and everybody laughed at me. And I'm like, who is laughing now? Like, I called this, and I'm very proud that this happened because I just had, like, I knew that the Lakers were going because I'm like, okay, cool. The Clippers, okay, everybody was talking about the Clippers. I'm like, bro, it's Paul George in the playoffs. Like it's still Paul. Like, come on, like,
Yeah.
And we saw that, like, and I'm
we watched himself implode.
Yes, it's like, come on, bro. Like, I didn't understand why everybody was like AD and Brown weren't going to do anything. I'm like, okay, they get the number 1 seed and then they're killing everybody in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No, I fully admit at the beginning of the season, I thought the Clippers were going to just stomp all over the Lakers. And then as the season went on, obviously I realized very quickly that was not going to happen. And then obviously at the time Kobe and TG passed away, I switched. I was like, yeah, Lakers. If the Blazers don't win it, I was like, the Lakers win it. I knew the Blazers had a legitimate chance this season, especially with Nurk and Zach coming back when they would have before COVID. You know what I mean? Because both of them were set to come back like that within that 2 weeks of COVID cancellations happening. But I think the Blazers gained an advantage with COVID cancellations with Nurk and Zach specifically. And then obviously once they lost to the Lakers, I was like, okay, full force bandwagon Lakers, here we go.
Right.
But it's been one of those things that through the playoffs, I thought at the beginning of playoffs that Boston was going to take it. And then as soon as Boston and Miami met, I was like, nope, Boston's screwed. And I was like, I switched gears on that prediction really quick. I've had so many predictions this season that I've had to just like throw away.
I was telling people about Boston and Miami. I'm like, look, all right, Boston got the better of them outside the bubble. But I'm like, go look at that game they played in the bubble. Like, they beat them without Jimmy. And I'm like, look, man.
First game that they played.
I'm like, listen. I'm like, look, man, this Miami team, they shoot a lot of threes. And just because you got them down, they can get themselves back in the game. That's why I was like, if they beat the Bucks when they got the matchup, I said, if they beat the Bucks, they're going to the finals. Because I'm like, this is the team you have to beat. I'm like, they beat them. They're not going to be scared of whoever they have to play in the conference finals.
No, and as soon as the Bucks went out, I think it became very obvious to a lot of people that Miami was the favorite in the East. And a lot of people were saying that Boston was the favorite in the East. And like I said, when playoffs first started, I was like, yeah, I think it's going to be Boston. But that was because I was not paying close enough attention to Miami. Once I actually started seeing the games that Miami was playing versus the games that Boston was playing, even the games not against each other, it became very apparent that Miami was the stronger team.
That's like, honestly, I thought the Raptors had a better shot of, like, because they still had their team from last year, just no Kawhi. But, like, they end up falling apart. I'm just like, I'm okay. I'm like, damn, well, Boston it is. I'm like, but yeah, I thought,
It was crazy to see how a lot of both teams collectively and players individually let the bubble have an effect on them. Because some guys went in there and just thrived. Obviously, we're seeing it out of Tyler Hero. We saw it out of Dame. You know what I mean? There's some guys that were just on all cylinders, but there's some guys that went in there, playoff P, that just totally their whole game just went trash.
Shut down. Like, I'm looking at Kawhi and Paul George put up like 20 points together in the fourth quarter of a game. I'm like, bro, what is happening? Like, this isn't like that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's all these different variables that some of the announcers calling the games were talking about, like the dynamics of the distance behind the hoop and things like that that they're not really used to. And I get all of that. That was a really big factor in March Madness 2 years ago when they were playing in the Madison Square Garden. It was just so deep that the players felt like they were just shooting into like a black hole. They had no depth perception to the hoop whatsoever. But I'm like, these guys are pros. Well, you know what I mean? The last time I saw that was in a college game where guys are still trying to get their bearings just playing in a game that big. So these guys are pros. They should be able to play anywhere. They should be able to play at Black Ops Hoops with Chris Brickley. They should be able to play at Rucker. They should be, what I mean?
Anywhere. Like,
yeah. So it's just one of those things that it's like, okay, that's not really an excuse if you're going to use like the depth perception of the hoop. Also, they basically live there so they can go practice and put up shots whenever they want. Like, I'm not hearing it. Not hearing it. But it has been really cool to see how those guys have thrived, and it's going to be interesting to see how this series plays out.
Definitely.
So, I don't know. Hold on to my pants for this one.
Honestly.
But let's touch on MLB really quick. AL and NL wildcard series are both being played. I think everybody besides Houston is on game one. So a lot of the results from wildcard will be discussed next week, but it's looking like Houston, Yankees, and I think Detroit was another favorite that were going to come through wildcard. But do you have any favorites that are in the MLB? I forget.
I had my Blue Jays. You know,
That's
I thought they were going to do a little something, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So yeah. But I mean,
the Yankees spanked the Indians last night. Yeah. I got that update and was like, "Woo, Yankees win!" It's always like whatever my team is, whatever sport it is, like I just feel like everybody does better when I don't pay attention.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I'm doing something and I get these updates and I'm like, "Yeah, we won!"
That's like when Miami was playing. I think it was the first closeout game? They were getting destroyed by Boston on a Saturday night. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm turning this off and watch the fights.
Right.
And I look at my phone. I'm like, bro, they're down 8. And then I look again. They're down 5.
You're like, hey, here we go.
So I go turn the TV on. And then what happens? Duncan Robinson gets a foul. And then they go to the free throw line and the game was over. I said, see, I shouldn't have turned it on. I said, we would have won had I not turned the game on.
See, that's what happened to me with the Blazers all throughout the bubble leading up until playoffs. There was 2 games. Well, it was 3 games to start with because one game I watched and they lost. The next game I didn't watch and they won. And then I watched one more time and they lost. And after that, the whole rest of the time in the bubble before playoffs, I was like, I'm not watching the Blazers. Finally, they played that last game against Minnesota. And I was like, all right, I'm going to watch social media for the first half of the game. And if it looks like they're doing okay, then I'll turn it on. And everybody was like, don't. Like, you need to watch. Come on. Like, don't do it. Like, I have one friend specifically, shout out to Dylan, who was like, no, Tay, like, you have to watch. Like, I know how much you love it. Like, please watch the game with us. You know, speaking obviously of NBA Twitter. And, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And finally, they were doing well enough. I put it on in the second quarter. And then finally, obviously, the Blazers ended up getting through to playoffs. And I was like, yes, I broke the curse.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, so NFL Week 2 was insane.
A mess. It was a
like,
mess.
Injury, City, holy shit.
A mess.
Okay. Nick Bosa, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Jimmy G, and Tyrod Taylor, and that's not even all of them.
No. Hold on, give me 1 minute here. Let me find
5 more that got injured that may be back in next week or the week after.
It was just so bad. Like it was so bad. It was like every 5 minutes I look down on Twitter and somebody else is hurt. Like, bro, what is going on? And I think, honestly, you know, as much as, you know, football fans, as much as we hate the preseason, that's a part of it. Right. That's part of it. These guys haven't had no real contact, no real full tilt. Like, they've been doing walkthroughs.
Yeah.
Walkthroughs, like, no. And then, I've been saying this for 5 years. I started Electrify 5 years ago. It wasn't what it is now, but 5 years ago, it was my senior year of high school. I told people, I said, bro, the turf monster, okay? It's the turf. These ACLs are not just ripping for no reason. Like, we need to play on natural grass. They don't listen, and here we are, still the same thing. But I think the most interesting thing that, you know, through the first 2 weeks, all right, so last year there were 520 players on the IR through the whole season. Through the first 2 weeks of this season, there's 165 players already. That's 31% of last year. Through 2 weeks. I'm like, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, I mean, you pretty much already answered my question that I was going to ask you, but like, what's contributing to this? Obviously, the lack of preseason. I think the whole mental side of how different everything is this year, even to the distance in the locker rooms, the testing protocol, all of these things that the guys are being asked to do that is not a part of their normal routine is so a part of their mental that without even thinking about it, without even acknowledging it, it's affecting their mindset on the field. I mean, to have guys like Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, and Saquon Barkley, like, I'm not trying to dog on them as players or their football IQ in any way, but there has to be a part of you that's not focused.
Look, look, you might not do it, but I'll do it. I'll tell you whose is Saquon Barkley. I'm gonna tell you what. You know who he reminds me of? D Rose. That's just like his play style is so like, bro, you don't have to hurdle everybody. Like you really don't have to hurdle everybody. And it's just like you miss a couple games last season. You're out for this season. You know, you look at the running backs; they're not getting paid that much. You know, elite backs, and then when it's time for you to re-up, they're not going to pay you like that. But you can't be the best running back off the field. Like you can't. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and I don't know how much this is like very, very Wags Twitter like info that I'm about to drop here, but I don't know how much you paid attention to like him and his baby mama throughout quarantine, but there was like a quick blurb that he was connected to Stassi, which is Kylie Jenner's best friend. You know what I mean? And so there, for Saquon specifically, there is so much about quarantine and COVID closures and all of these delays with NFL and the irregularities of the season that I think have affected his mindset and therefore are affecting his motivations. Like you're saying, like you don't have to hurdle over everybody. Why are you trying to show off?
Honestly.
You know what I mean? Like it's like just
I don't like hurdling itself unless it's one-on-one and you're in open field and you can do it. But like it was a kid last weekend in college, like full scorpion, like almost broke himself in half. Like his helmet was stuck on the ground and his body. I watched it one time. I said, no.
Those are the ones that make you cringe.
Yeah, I was just like, that's nasty. Like, how did he survive that? Like, no way.
Ooh, yikes. I don't like ice cream
No. No way.
Oh man. Well, to end it on a more positive note with NFL, we did get to see the battle of the MVPs in Pat and Lamar. As far as fantasy goes, because I do have Pat as my fantasy QB, and ironically, the team that I was playing this week had Lamar as their.
Oh wow.
And the numbers were astounding. It was like 63-14 as far as point spread went in fantasy. So that just tells you a little bit about how each of them performed in real time. I hate to dog on Lamar because I think he's great. But I just don't think he has the guys surrounding him that would allow him to be at the caliber that Patrick is. So
all right, first let me talk about my fantasy team before I get into this.
Yeah.
First of all, I should be 3-0. All right, I lost by 4 points. Okay. Lost by 4 points. I had Diggs and I think Robert Woods on my bench. That was like 30 points that I could have had, but I had my Sunday night trio, Aaron Rodgers, Allen Lazard, and Aaron Jones went off, but I was playing Kamara. So that little 52-yard touchdown he had killed me. But as far as Pat and Lamar goes, here's how I feel about this. I think Pat is the best. I think he's, as the young gunners, Pat is the man. I like Lamar. I really do. But if you can't win the big ones, like you're 0-3 against this man now.
Right.
It looks a little funny. Looks a little funny. That's all I'm saying.
Definitely.
And it's like, look at the Ravens as a whole. They'll run first team, right? But when you can't assert the run game and you get down, you got to throw the ball. Yep. Everybody got on the Packers this offseason for not drafting receivers. Okay, look at the Ravens. They got tight ends running go routes. Like,
right.
Come on.
Well, and I mean, you kind of made a good point to segue into that. Your pass doesn't count as yardage if the guy doesn't catch it.
Exactly.
Nor do you score points that way. So
like there was a video on Twitter, like the receivers were running routes and like they ran into each other. I'm like,
right.
what is this?
Yeah.
And
Are
then
we
I got
screens? Like, is this
right. Honestly, it's not basketball.
Going
like,
for the pick and roll?
No. And then like a lot of the Chiefs have a lot of weapons. But a lot of that, I give a lot of credit to Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy because those schemes are just ridiculous. Like they have defenses looking confused, and that's why I think they could have a run like Brady and Belichick had because I don't see anybody beating them in the AFC for a while until it's gonna be a while before that happens.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were scratching their heads when the news broke about his 10-year contract. But I think now, especially with what you just said, as far as like dominating for quite some time, that 10-year contract makes a lot more sense.
A lot of sense.
Yeah. So I love Patrick Mahomes. That's gonna be. I don't have any NFL jerseys, and that's gonna be my first NFL jersey purchase. Yeah, he's right behind you. I saw that. He's gonna be my first NFL jersey purchase, and honestly, I know that it's a jersey that I'm gonna be probably passing down to like my kids someday.
Yeah, I definitely want a Pat jersey. I want a Pat jersey and I want a Travis Kelce jersey. I love Travis too.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yes, yeah, I love them both, definitely. Well, we're gonna take a quick pause. I'm gonna stick in the episode interview, the interview guest, and then we're gonna come back and do the culture. I know we have lots to talk about as far as sports culture goes, so we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Thanks everybody again for tuning in. This is Sports Talk Mostly podcast, and I think in the secret segment I said episode 15, but I don't know if it's episode 15 or 16. This is like the one time I'm like absolutely not sure. So whether it's episode 15 or episode 16, thanks for coming back, and I hope you come back for episode 16 or episode 17.
Right. Y'all can do podcasts sometime.
Yeah. And so, like you mentioned in the secret segment, sometimes I don't even know what day it is right now. So,
Right.
So this is my wonderful friend Jasmine Brown. Thank you to the wonderful throes of NBA Twitter for connecting us. I've been trying to get you on for a few months now, but it's been so unpredictable, obviously, with COVID time. So thanks for dealing with me and your patience, and thanks for coming on in short notice. Obviously, the listeners don't know that, but you and I do. So.
A whole day.
You just announced a new position in the sports industry. Tell us about that and what you're looking forward to most with that opportunity.
Yeah, so I'm now the social programmer for Bleacher Report's Highlighter, which is run by the lovely Ari. Everybody knows. If you don't know Ari, then
Beautiful, by the way.
Okay. So I'm going to be running that account, posting a lot of our videos that has to deal with women doing dope things. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the basis of it. Really excited to get started and do something new. I've never done something that was remote, and then also I've never done anything that was strictly social. So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so you say social programmer. What does that entail? Like, are you overseeing the content? Are you actually posting the content? What goes into that actual title?
Yeah, so I'll be mostly posting the content, but I'll also be curating it too. So I'm kind of a curator for the content as well.
Cool.
So yeah, post that at will. Whenever I see fit. If it's like postable or relatable, then I'll just find it, post it, and see where it goes.
Yeah, so I follow the Highlight Her account. I don't know people listening do, but obviously for those that don't know, it's at Highlight Her. So it's like the word highlighter, but it's Highlight her at the end. And like you said, it's a super dope account. There's everything from like viral videos on the web of like little girls doing cheerleading stunts, all the way from clips to actual, WNBA games and other female sports that are around the league. So that is a super dope account. I'm so excited to see like what you guys, the account itself has grown like insanely just in the like time that it started.
Yeah, it started it was another name. It was like We Are Jayla at first, and then and then the name changed, and then it's grown a lot. So the goal is to get 100K by December. So that's the goal. That's the goal. You can do it.
Hope this episode helps, and obviously I hope that more males catch. Obviously, women are going to be excited about seeing other women do dope things, but I hope for the sake of the account and the sake of the mission behind the account, obviously, that more guys jump on that. So if you're a guy and you're listening, please share it with a friend, share it with a female friend, go follow. And like I keep like griping and hyping about on my personal account, if you follow an account, make sure to not only like but also comment, share, and save those posts, because that is the number one way that posts get shown to others is if they're doing well with engagement. So obviously in regards to posts on social media, you have one post that caught my attention. Hopefully this isn't delving too deep, but this post is from August 2019. When you accepted your job at ESPN. We described your journey to accepting that previous position with ESPN. Talk a little bit about those times and how persevering through those struggles brought you to the position that you're in now.
I got the job in August, and it ended up being I got the job in like June, but they had to go through like a whole other process to ESPN is probably the hardest. I won't say the hardest, but it's like the most rigorous interview-wise. I think I had about 5 to 6 interviews.
Wow.
Before I can even get the job.
Wow.
So I mean, when they hire cream of the crop, they mean business. So that makes me feel good. But I was a production assistant, so I was doing like highlights and stuff like that for Sports Center. I did games. I posted stuff on the IGTV, on NBA, college, and YouTube, and the app as well. I think for the most part, I was only like one of 2 Black women there. So it was really small. And I think for that, I think they kind of have that stigma of we probably like aren't the best fit. So like they put me a lot on like the social stuff. And I think honestly, like I kind of saw it as like a bad thing, but now that I'm doing straight social stuff right now for my job, I feel like it helped me.
Yeah.
It helped me a lot. Like sometimes you just don't know what or why you're in a certain position, but it can possibly set you up for a better scenario down the road. So
yeah. And in that specific social post that I was talking about, you're at the desk at ESPN, and in the caption you talk about how, you found out the news that your mom had lost her home, you were sleeping on couches, you were like basically scraping together change during your time with the Mystics in order to get to ESPN. So like hand in hand, how did you deal with those like personal struggles of life and then being in a position that was like kind of like making you fly by the seat of your pants, so to speak?
I just think that I had a goal, and that goal was like, I don't care what I do, I'm going to get to ESPN or whatever. So I think there were times where like I did sacrifice, like money wasn't the best, so I sacrificed like my paycheck just so I can go cover the Mystics, and like I was at Maryland at the time, like University of Maryland. So and I was covering like basketball and football. I was legit like right there. But the thing was, since the money was low, I kind of took that advantage and ate the media food sometimes. So I didn't have food at home.
Definitely.
So I was like, you know what? I can kill 2 birds with one stone. I'll eat the food there, get my experience in covering games. and just keep, the other money that. But I mean, there was one time that I had to ask my parents, like, hey, can y'all help me out traveling to go cover the game? Like, they did it because they knew where I was going with it, and they knew that I was serious with it. So
they knew what you were working towards.
Right, exactly. But that was like 2018 was probably or 2017 was probably the hardest financially. But then after that, like I was okay after that. But yeah, just kept going. Just kept going, put my head down and kept going. Like my friends would ask me, Jasmine, you want to hang out? I'm like, no, I got to do this. But it's funny. Last year when I got the job, my friends, they were kind of like understanding of why I didn't want to hang out with them at the time, because I had to build myself up so I can get up there.
Totally. Yeah, you have to do what you have to do. I mean, there's so many sacrifices you have to make to get to where you want to be. And I mean, props to you for pushing through all of that stuff, because you obviously got, to part of where you want to be. You got to ESPN, you've now grown since that with Bleacher Report. Obviously, I'm sure your goals are continuing to grow as you grow. So that has been, it was obviously, I wasn't connected with you at that time. We just got connected, at the beginning of COVID, but to scroll back and see all of that stuff that you went through, it was definitely like, wow, I personally have so much respect for not just women in sports, but Black women in sports especially. And to see that was something, it just magnifies the journey so much more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and as you mentioned, you covered the Mystics. And as we know, women's basketball is highly underrated and underwatched and undersupported and all of those things. What were some of your favorite parts about or memories from covering the Mystics and covering a WNBA team in general?
Yeah, I think when you cover a team versus like the league, it's kind of hard for you to spread to the league, because you're seeing the same players every single day, but every single game day, you're interviewing, you're going to practice. Like, it's fun. It's really fun to cover and the misses were fun. Like, you had Elena, you had Natasha. At the time, Christy was on the team, which she was one of the reasons why I went to Maryland. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I think seeing the progression of them until 2019 was so great, because they went to the semis when everybody came together, and they lost to the eventual champ Lynx. But the next year they went to the finals and they played the Storm. You can't really. I would say if Atlanta was healthy, they probably would have won. But yeah, that definitely would have. But
I think that a lot of people believe that, actually.
Right, I think so too. It's what? It's funny though, because a lot of people, they have this theory. It was me and also like other people, like they were kind of thinking like whenever the Mystics aren't in it, the Storm is in it, and then when the Storm isn't in it, the Mystics are in it. So like the Mystics are not there, and the Storm are back in the finals, but then the Storm wasn't. They were out, and then the Mystics won. So it's like.
And obviously the Storm are in it right now, and the Mystics are out.
Exactly. So it's like
further the narrative.
Okay. A little bit of theory going on, but yeah, just to see them go a next level every single year to eventually winning the championship. That was really good to see their growth. It made it fun for me to see a journey like that, because I thought it'd be stagnant, playoff, maybe not. Season be over, but it was fun. It was really fun to see. And then also going to the All-Star game, seeing two people that you cover and they see you outside of the arena travel. I know it makes them feel good to know that like you really cared that much to see them outside. Yeah,
definitely. And what was it like watching like the fan interest as their success grew? Like, was that something that was like obvious, or was it like, oh, maybe a few more people are watching and maybe a few more people are coming?
Yeah, I would see. The thing was, I don't know what the optics looked like the year before.
Yeah.
Before Elena and Christy came, so I think the fans were there. I definitely saw the gear around DC and Maryland. I definitely did see that.
Right.
So I do think there was fan presence, but I do think it I know it elevated when they got there, and then last year they moved to a new arena.
Right.
So it was a lot smaller, but it was pretty much packed every game. Like, because it was smaller, yeah. So I think they averaged around 6,000.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, my laptop's about to die. Let me get my charger right quick. Let me get my charger.
She's screaming. This is the first, ladies and gentlemen, on Sports Talk Monthly podcast. She had to run to get the laptop charger.
I conclude the comedic portion of the podcast.
It's like she's downstairs screaming.
We good.
Okay, so since we're on the topic of WNBA, what is your overall summary of this season? I mean, clearly it has been obviously unlike any other season. We've had the wobble, we've had some kids in the wobble. All of the Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP awards were just announced within the last couple of weeks. And then along with a handful of player opt-outs, most notably Elena Delle Donne and Liz Cambage, what has been your general takeaway from all of the variables?
Oh, that's a lot.
It's like it sounds like all this stuff should have happened in like 3 seasons, but this is all in 1 season.
I think that they did a good job. I think they did a good job of like pacing, even though they were basing it off of what the NBA did. I still think they did a good job with how they set everything up. I know in the beginning the living situation like wasn't the best, but now it seems like they had that figured out, and that wasn't an issue later on. I think a lot of people, even like I think the players, everybody had to realize like this is not something that is normal. And I think the leagues tried their best to try to get all the, situations under control. And like, it's again, like nobody even thought sports was coming back. So it's like you had to kind of understand everybody of what was going to happen. But I think after all those like bumps and stuff like that, I think they did a really good job. The players who opted out, I mean, you can't fault them.
No.
You can't fault them for wanting to opt out. And I mean, especially with Elena, she has Lyme disease. So, you don't want to risk that at all. I mean, Coach Tebow, he's in his 70s, so.
Yeah. Well, and with Cambage, a lot of people didn't know that she had actually had like a very COVID-like respiratory illness like 8 months prior to the COVID outbreak in the United States. She's from, a lot of people don't really realize that she's from Australia, and so she spends a lot of time over in Asia and a lot of these countries over in completely different time zones, completely different like global capacity than the United States is currently in. And she basically had COVID without being diagnosed with COVID. She was on a respirator, she was on a ventilator, she was in the hospital for almost a month. And so with Cambage specifically, like during a global pandemic, you can't really ask somebody to play when they basically had the virus.
Right, exactly.
Like, I don't know, there's so many different, like you said, there were so many different things for the league to pay attention to and to situate around. And obviously we had, like I mentioned, kids in the bubble, which props to Candace Parker. She won Defensive Player of the Year with her kid in the bubble.
Yes.
So, if we didn't already think that Candace Parker was superhuman, I feel like that definitely nails it in the coffin that she is like otherworldly altogether. She's such a superstar. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think that considering all the different things from A to Z, what could have gone wrong, what did go wrong, I think that we got a really eventful WNBA season, and I think we're getting a finals that is, you know, for lack of discounting anybody and anybody's talent, I think this finals is definitely representative of some of the best players in the league. Who do you think is gonna win, Storm or Aces?
So I think when you look at optics wise, of course, hype wise, people are gonna pick the Storm. I think top heavy, just
totally
crazy.
Stewie,
exactly. You have Stewie. You had Stewie who's coming off of Achilles injury. I mean, I don't know how she even did that. And then you have Sue, she's going to be 40 in like 2 weeks. Like I don't even understand how she's still playing. Like I would have been done in 30. Yeah. Then you have the emergence of like Jewell Loyd. You know, I'm really proud of her emergence. She's like really turning into that. Yeah, she's gonna be a superstar in a couple years.
Yep.
You know, I love that for them. But I think I would go history wise with MVPs. Yeah. The last 4 people that won MVP have won the finals. So
okay, good point.
So I don't know, like maybe the Aces can steal a couple, but if they don't, she's gonna break the chain.
That's actually insane. I did not realize that. So good on you for pointing that out.
Yes, thank you. I think I saw like an ESPN graphic. Don't prove me.
I love it. You are, I don't know, some people are listening, some people are watching the video, but you are rocking your WNBA hoodie. I have to let the people know because it's definitely a thing for me to rock a specific jersey for every episode. But in regard to the WNBA, and in regard to Mr. Kobe Bryant, we obviously lost one of the biggest ambassadors of the WNBA with the passing of Kobe. And how do you think that his legacy will help the popularity of the league going forward and the popularity of women's basketball generally?
Yeah, I think a lot of people definitely want to do stuff to honor Gianna, especially because everybody knows that her goal was to go to the WNBA. Her goal was to go to UConn. So I think the players that are left, I know Jewell and Sabrina, I know they had like the most closest contact with him before he passed. So I just think that it's on. I wouldn't say put pressure on the players, but I do think it's on them to just keep that legacy going, especially the Sparks. I know that definitely because of course they have to keep that legacy going. But I think this is what Kobe wanted. Yeah. I think what they're doing right now is a reflection of what he's been championing for years. Yeah. So, I mean, it really sucks that he had to go through this whole pandemic. It's like it started. We only had 25 good days of this freaking year. So
I know. It literally, like, I feel like the pandemic started with Kobe dying. Like, I don't know. The whole world just went to shit right after that happened.
Exactly. Like it just, and then, and the thing about it was, I was at ESPN at the time, so I had to make everything was just Kobe. Everything you had to make video and all that stuff the next day. I had to go in the next day, so that also gave me a glimpse of like how to cover sports.
Right.
After a huge tragedy. I mean, I did do video of like David Stern, but like he was up in age. He wasn't really in the limelight like that, but like Kobe, it's like Kobe, and I think it was heartbreaking. Yeah, it was really heartbreaking for me because I had to keep getting up and taking walks because I just couldn't keep looking at the footage. It was so much footage that I had to go through.
Yeah, like that's what's mind blowing to me is like you have that obviously the obligation to your job to do what's being asked of you for your job, but like that personal connection that obviously so many of us had with his memory and his legacy, and to have like the both sides of that contrasting what you're being asked to do at your job.
Yeah, I mean, everybody understood because it was quiet. Like you can literally hear a pin drop in there. It was so quiet. The cafeteria, like it was just quiet everywhere for like a week. So
that's insane. I mean, it's not surprising, but it's insane. I mean, especially I feel like once Elle Duncan did her segment about Girl Dad, that like just. I mean, I get chills talking about it. Right?
I know.
I feel like that magnified it so much, especially on the ESPN side of things. You know what I mean? Because that girl dad hashtag is still getting used when people talk about Kobe. So, it's insane how things go like viral in a viral event like that, and it becomes like a part of the story itself.
Yeah, because now people who, like you said, like people expect the girl hashtag girl dad. Like it's literally what it is now.
Yep.
Yeah. For a long time.
And it will forever be a tribute to Kobe. Like people who don't understand where that came from are like inadvertently like honoring Kobe when they say it too. Yeah. It's so crazy. And obviously beloved Vanessa is using hashtag girl mom now, which we all know what that is a nod to.
They're all doing that. Boy mom, girl dad, girl mom. Like
Yep. Everybody's just hashtagging their kids. Before I let you go, there is one thing I absolutely have to get you to tell us more about because you have me literally drooling all over my phone, and that is your personal shop, JB Sweets. Why inspire you to share your amazing treats with all of us? Obviously, I'm sure pandemic had a lot to do with it, but what, like, as far as the recipes and the things that you're offering, what's your personal connection to those things, and what made you want to share it with us?
So, I started like, so like back when Snapchat was like popping for real, like I did a lot of cooking little show type thingies.
Okay.
So I did food. I did food, like no sweets at all.
Right.
And people were like, "Oh, I'll like pay for you to like, I'll pay you to like make me food." But like at the time, I didn't have my food license until I became a manager at IHOP. That's a whole thing. But yeah, like I did that, but I was like, you know what? Let me just try sweets. My ex-boyfriend at the time, he liked when I made these peanut butter cookies. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, hey, we should start like something or something like that. But I wasn't ready. I think this was back in 2018. Right. But or 2017. But yeah, I was like, let me just try. I started it last year, so I started it January 5th. That's my brother's birthday. Yeah, so I just started making like, just little, like the little cake truffles. I was researching like what can I put them in. And the container is unique. Nobody's ever done it, so I was like, let me just try, put it out there. I didn't even have a website. Like I was just like, yeah, just Cash App me or PayPal me. Like it was just so awkward because I didn't have a site. Then I got a site, but then like I got the job at ESPN, so I kind of took my focus off of that. Right. Then when I got laid off from ESPN, that's when I was like, you know what? That website is not right now. Let me go ahead and open that back up. Yeah. And I was like, okay, let me just sell a little bit. I sold a few like at the end of April, and then the whole George Floyd situation happened. So that's when like everybody was like buy black and all that stuff. So I was like, you know what? Like I just said a prayer like the night before, and I've never really said a prayer about my business. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned it. I was like, Lord, just help JB Sweets. Like I was like that. Yeah, out, girl. Yeah. So like, okay, Lord, please. So then the next day, I put my business in a couple threads, and I put it into kind of got a little traction. But then at the third one, I was like, all right, third time's a charm. Let me put this in there. Blew up, and all of a sudden, my phone was just like, I'm just like, like I took a shower and I got back out and I look at my phone and it's just like, I was like,
you're like, I better start cooking.
really what I had. I was thinking, I was like, wow, all these Twitter strangers, they really just bought my stuff.
That's so awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't expect it. I mean, because like on average, I think last year I only shipped to like 5 states, but because of Twitter, I've now shipped to 30.
Holy cow!
I know.
That is so awesome, dude.
Thank
the power
you.
of social media. I swear that's amazing.
Seriously, I didn't think that, the whole buy black hashtag was, I mean, people were buying like
Oh yeah,
crazy.
like, that's awesome. That's so cool. God, that's heartwarming. Man, I love to hear good stuff like that because I feel like everybody is like so quick right now to like tell a story about some bad, messy shit that happened to them. So it's always nice when somebody's like, no, like you said, I said a prayer and I did my work and it happened. You know what I mean? Like that's amazing. And FYI, I'm planning on buying for Thanksgiving. And I was, like I said, I was like looking at it and I've gone back to the shop like 3 or 4 times since I first clicked on the link and was like, because I knew the first time I clicked on the link, I'm like, I know what I'm getting myself into right now. I have like the biggest sweet tooth in the world. I could eat sweets from when I wake up until when I go to sleep and do it all over again the next day. And anybody that knows me will attest to that. And I'm like, okay, I need this. In my mind, I've spent $300 on your
I don't think you'll reach that. I don't think. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah. I mean, it's funny. I don't even eat mine. Like, I look at the cookie dough and I'm just like, I'm so sick of you.
Well, that's why you're sharing it with us now.
And I used to be a big like sweet tooth person, but as I got older,
that's what I wonder about myself. Like, am I ever gonna grow it out? And I feel like every year it just gets progressively worse. Whatever.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Lady eating ice cream for breakfast while everybody else eats eggs and bacon. No, I like my ice cream.
Look, I've ate cake and ice cream before for breakfast, so.
Hey. I can do what I want.
Hey, you know what? YOLO, like.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time. And like I said, the short notice, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And everybody needs to go Highlight Her on Instagram. Do you guys have a Twitter for the Highlight Her?
We do have a Twitter, but I think it's like Lucky Under Construction. So.
Okay.
We'll probably broadcast it for people to follow.
Okay, follow the Instagram for now, and also check out JB Sweets. There's an extra E in Sweets, right?
Yes, it's an extra E's.
JB Sweets with 3 E's.com if you need to order some sweet tooth for your sweet tooth. And thank you again, Ms. Jasmine, for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon when you make some more progress in the sports world.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day, girl.
Bye.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. The culture topic that we have for the day, it's one topic. I felt like Eric brought it up to me. I was like, what do you want to talk about? He said, this is what I want to talk about. And I think that if this is what we're going to talk about, it just needs to be the only thing because it was such an influential thing. Like my whole entire social media and everything is like only speaking about this one topic. And that was the presidential debate. It was last night, obviously, as this episode airs, that will have been Tuesday night. And I mean, it touches the sports world quite a bit. Obviously, lots of people of color throughout the sports world, both in the media and the players and the coaches. There's a lot of women rising to the top in sports. Obviously, the politics and the current president, it's all encompassing. And I would like to hear your take on the debate. You were the instigator on this being what we talked about. So I would love you to take the lead. I know there's some stuff on your mind. And I have to just like laugh for a second because holy shit.
It's so laughable. It's just so funny. I'm just like,
yeah.
First of all, I had this circled on my calendar because I knew it was going to be a mess. I'm like, bro, I'm going to watch the debate. And when I go on Twitter, I asked him, like, we all watching the debate? I look at the TL. Oh, we are. Okay, cool. So everybody watching the debate like it was a Super Bowl, and it was the first 3 minutes. It was cool. I'm like, oh, they're gonna be chill, and then they just started going back and forth. I'm like, bro, this is crazy. Like Chris Wallace, the moderator, he couldn't do anything. Like he started getting frustrated, and Joe was like, yo, shut up, like bro, like dog, come on, like what are you doing here? It's just like this is a mess.
Yeah,
this is really a mess.
Such a mess. I will be very honest for my own mental health. I did not watch the debate because I knew it was going to be a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I would see plenty about it through social media, and I pretty much did. I watched it. You know how it is. It's like watching a game.
Yeah.
You see a clip like 45 to 70 seconds after it happened on Bleacher Report or House of Highlights, ESPN, whatever. It was like that with the debate. You know what I mean? Something comes out of somebody's mouth, 45 seconds later, it's on the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I got lots of clips throughout it. I do not need to watch the whole thing. The first clip that I did catch was the "Will you shut up, man?"
Yes,
clip,
bro.
And I mean, I feel like that is like the sum up this presidency in one quote.
Honestly.
You know what I mean?
I think the best part about watching it live was seeing credible sources fact check what Trump was saying, and it was all lies. I'm like, bro, nothing he said was true. He's just up there talking. He said what did he say? He said it's 1 billion trees they found somewhere. Sir. Sir. He said he brought Big Ten football back. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't do that.
That was are you okay? No. And that's another thing that I wanted to kind of touch on for just a second is the fact that this asshat is going to sit there and say that he brought Big Ten football back. Meanwhile, we completely forgot to talk about this, but the Titans are having COVID.
Bro, that came out of nowhere. I was like, I woke up. I was like, excuse me? What happened?
You know what I mean? And my friend Cody Hollister plays for the Titans. He's from Bend, Oregon, where I'm from. And I'm like, oh, I hope you're okay. No word, no, nothing. He can't say anything because team collective privacy. He can't say a word. And they've shut down everything. I don't think they're practicing until Saturday.
No, they're not doing it. I heard they're just getting back into the building, I think tomorrow. And it's probably not going to be real practice. So if you have any Titans in your fantasy lineup, take them out. Do not play them. I'm not playing Derrick Henry or Jonnu Smith because I don't know what the hell is going to happen when they play on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Look, it's we knew this could happen.
Yeah.
This could happen. Everybody was, but it's just when it happens, it's still holy shit, it happened.
Yeah. So then you have this clown Donald Trump trying to take credit for other leagues coming back. Meanwhile, he can't even as a president control the nation's response, let alone what's going on in the NFL. You know what I mean? It's just so laughable. Like you said, that was such a good word to describe it, just in a nutshell. Just so it is honestly scary that this is the state of where we're at. But and I was thinking about this long and hard this morning, that we need to look at Biden as a stepping stone, because yes, he's not a great candidate also, but if we're going to get to anything better for 2024, we have to start with getting him out. The only way with getting him out is to get Biden in right now.
Yeah. It's just I remember vividly, in 2016, they kept playing the lesser of two evils card. And I'm just bro, we can't do that this time.
Yeah.
We can't. We got to get him out of here because this is really bad. I think the worst part, which didn't surprise me last night, was when they were talking about the white supremacists, and he wouldn't even say it. He wouldn't say it. He wouldn't say it. He wouldn't even condemn them. He was he called them, what do you call them, Proud Boys, and told them to step down. Like,
I saw a video on Instagram just like right before we were getting ready to record this, actually, and she from a Black woman, and she was speaking about how it wasn't that he failed to denounce white supremacy. What he did was call out to white supremacists. She said that is like someone telling her to denounce her sorority and then her doing the call. That's like someone telling her to denounce her university or her church and then doing the hymn or the fight song. Right. You know what I mean? So he didn't just fail to denounce it. He actually and literally called out to them and told them specifically, stand by. What does stand by mean in any other context?
No, seriously. Like somebody had it was a scene from The Wire, and it was Marlo was like, tell my people tool up, and it was like that's basically what Trump said last night. I'm like, yo, for real. Like, what are you saying? Like, nah, the dude is a nut. And then he was talking about I think he called was it the Portland sheriff? You posted that. Yeah, you posted that. I was like, look at this. Like, bro, nobody's with you. No. Like, nobody except your brainless followers. Like, I really think, honestly, that COVID has been a blessing and a curse. You know, I think before coming into this year, I honestly thought, I'm like, yo, I don't know, he might go back to back, but the way he handled this, I think everybody is just like, nah.
Well, and not only handled this, but also, like you said, 2020 has been a blessing in disguise. There is a reason why. At the same time, everybody was forced to be in their homes and basically focus on nothing. There is now a bright spotlight shown on police brutality, racial injustice, systemic racism, and all of these things that, by being who he is, and what he stands for, Trump supports and Trump is a part of. And so there's a reason why all this is happening at the same time, so that we're not distracted by our daily lives and, oh, I got to start my diet on Monday and, oh, my 9 to 5 and this and that we had actual real time to stop and look at the facts and watch the videos and watch the live streams and listen to the tweets of the protesters and the people that were there in Minneapolis and Louisville and, you know, all of these places where these big important things are happening that are like starting movements all across the country for other things that have happened to other people as well. You know what I mean?
Like, it's so much going on. You can't sweep anything under the rug at this point.
No. And, you know, so there's a reason why we were all forced to kind of shut down every other thing that was going on in our lives at the same time that the loudness of police brutality was being shown to all of us. And if you didn't get that and if it didn't click for you, that's what the problem is right now. You know what I mean? Like, we had such an afforded opportunity to understand it and to learn it. And even if we've never experienced it or never been in a city where that happens because it's majority white people, you had the opportunity to educate yourself. So if you're one of those people who's going around on social media now being like, oh, educate me. Oh, tell me why I shouldn't vote for him. Nope. Not doing that. It is not my duty to, and nor do I feel called to. There are some people that feel compelled to keep these people on their friends list and interact at family gatherings and have long talks with them. I do not feel compelled to do that.
No way. So,
for me, it's like all encompassing, and I was so glad that you wanted to talk about it because the debate, and I mean, I've been preaching on my Facebook, like, if you're one of those people who had problems with MLB and NBA showing their support for Black Lives Matter through, you know, the COVID restarts and all of these things this season, and you're like, oh, I'm not watching. Cool. You know what? The majority of these men in all sports, and women, if we're talking about the WNBA, is majority Black and Indigenous people, and majority Black, if we're being quite frank and honest. So it's just one of those things that if you have an issue with that, of them protesting, good, don't watch.
Don't watch.
You don't even understand what it's like to be them. You have no idea.
That's why, I took it, upon myself to have an entire episode, no sports. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about the issues, and I was able to. I went in my closet. I had a presentation. I think it's like my sophomore year of college. So I had a presentation on media relations and like race riots, right? And how they, 9 times out of 10 they start off peaceful,
Right.
and then agitators, police, and then the media jumps on that. And I'm like, I need to tell, like, bro, this has been going on since like the 30s. Like, this is not new. This
No.
isn't new. Like, this
No.
is all, everything we've seen has happened before,
Right.
time and time again. It's like, it's important to, and like I said, I started the episode. I'm like, I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. Like, if you're listening, you know what I'm about. I'm just
Right.
here to further, learn. We need to know this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's like we need to know this stuff. There's so much going
Because
on.
there's people who truly believe that those things didn't happen. There's people who truly look at a photo of Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr. and see it in black and white, and there's something in their mind that tells them that was in like the 1800s.
Bro, that was like not
It
that
was
long ago. Like my grandparents were there. Like
my stepdad was born in 1956.
like come on, man. Come on, man. Like, this is not new. Like, just because we didn't have color TV.
Yeah.
Like,
So I was glad you wanted to talk about it. The debate was absolutely like a mess. Like we
it was a
said,
mess.
absolutely laughable. And like I said, the only way that we can get 45 out
It's just,
is to get Biden in,
and
and then
yeah, it's just go vote, man. Just go vote. Like, just go vote, please.
those people in a small state that's like, yeah, I can vote third party and it's going to change the world. And no, it's not. Please don't worry about future elections. Please worry about this election only. You know what I mean? Like,
and more importantly, people forget this. Okay, we have the general election, but it's a lot of things that on that ballot locally and state. Please do that. Don't just click anything, please, because that's that. If you want to see local level, if you want to see change where you are, and not just vote.
Yep, exactly. Especially for those states that are seeing like cannabis legalization, decriminalization, like all of those things on your ballots, vote for those. But obviously make sure to read them, because some of the decriminalization has to do with future crimes or convictions and not past convictions. We also need to make sure that anybody that's voting for marijuana legalization is also making sure that they're voting to drop past convictions for people that are having, jail time or have had jail time for marijuana crimes. It's absolutely absurd. You know what I mean? That people are. And Michael Thompson is a great example. He's been in jail for 20 years for 3 pounds of marijuana.
And some lady just got like 2 years probation for coke with the, like, come on, man. Come on.
And
what we
the
doing?
The sentences, like max sentences on a lot of harder drugs like cocaine, methamphetamines, heroin, like all of those, they are lesser because people have voted for that, because people don't want to spend their tax dollars on housing those criminals. So they let them off with a lesser sentence, put them out on probation, and hope they end up back in jail or dead. You know what I mean? So it's like this vicious cycle where, luckily states like Oregon have implemented things like getting those people into drug treatment programs, but a lot of states still haven't done that yet. You know what I mean? So our country is a mess.
Oh yeah.
We could talk about it for hours.
Oh yeah. And it's just like, I hate to say it, but they don't, like, our government really doesn't care about certain things until it hits the white community. Like, heroin has been a problem for years, right?
Oh yeah.
Maryland has had like a heroin epidemic in Western Maryland, and that's more like rural mountain, until it got out there, nobody cared. But now that it made it out there, and they had to cancel Halloween because there was heroin in the candy. Now, let's get rehab centers and fund it. No.
That's awful.
No. That's great. That's so sad. I'm laughing.
I mean, well,
It's crazy.
sadly, I mean, God rest their souls. I have a handful of friends who have died from heroin overdoses because it's so prevalent in my area as well.
That's
It's
sad, man.
so sad, and it affects so many families, and there's so many people who could get away from it if they just had the resources to.
Resources, and it's a lot of that can be applied to. I say when I think about crimes in the prison system, when it's like drugs or nothing heavy, even if it is, these prison systems are worse than the outside. Like
Right.
there's no rehabilitation. Like I watched that show 60 Days In,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh
I'm
God.
just like, bro, like look at this. Like look at honestly, look at they don't treat them like people.
No.
And it's just like, how can you expect them to go outside, go get a job,
And feel good about
and
themselves.
feel good about people go in worse than they come out.
Yeah.
It's really it's a mess. This country is sad.
Yeah.
This country is sad. Like I watched another show. What was I watching? This guy goes to, like the most dangerous prisons. He was like in another country.
Yeah.
At, like a vacation spot.
Well,
Look at this.
the Khalif Browder documentary on Netflix
Mhm.
about Rikers is, I mean, that is insane. Like take away Khalif Browder's story, just the clips and the stories about what goes on at Rikers.
I would love to know what the hell they did to Lil Wayne. And somebody please tell me
I know.
what y'all did. Because, bro, he went in, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but he has not been the same since they came home, man. I'm just saying.
I think, especially with somebody of Lil Wayne's caliber, I think it has a lot more to do with like extortion and blackmail than it does with like being affiliated, so to speak. Like, yeah, I just think that he's the type of guy that in order to get any sort of protection there, he probably had to pay people a lot of fucking money and give a lot of people a lot of favors while he was there.
Terrible.
And like, I mean, that just, again, it speaks to like the like monstrosity that the prison system like really is in this country. It's like, I mean, it's organized kidnapping is essentially.
No, honestly.
So they just, like, anybody that's in there, they just let whatever, like they could care less if they kill each other for any reason.
And it's like, especially when they put like kids in there, like, oh, yeah, this isn't like a juvenile crime, right?
It's like 16.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
And you made a great point. And then you want that individual to be released, go back into society, maintain regularity, show up at a job like a normal person, and they have like no real like counseling or guidance about like reintegrating back into the real world and not doing things the prison way. You know what I mean? I actually saw a meme earlier this morning that was like, it's kind of funny because I'm Hawaiian, so I always love a good bowl of ramen. But if your man puts more than 3 ingredients in his ramen, then he's been to prison. And it's so true, because anything like spread, obviously like rolling anything up in a tortilla or putting it in a bowl of ramen or a cup of noodles, like, that's eating like a king when you're inside. So, there's just so many like ins and outs that show you how like truly fucked up it is. And I don't like to like fully drop the F-bomb on the pod unless it's necessary, but it really is like super messed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've even been inside of a jail, like even a county jail, like it's not fun. It's not welcoming. They're not nice. They don't treat you like you said. We don't need to go there, but I've experienced that and I don't want to go back.
No, not at all. We don't want that at all. No.
So, well, in closing, I said I wasn't going to do it, but instead of an NBA prediction, let's get your NFL predictions. is it too soon, or who do you think we might see in an NFL Super Bowl?
I'm going my same prediction from last year. I'm going Green Bay and Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
I think that, I looked at Sunday night, even though they didn't have Michael Thomas, I looked at that game as a statement game for Green Bay. They beat the Saints. I think they're, I think they're one of the top teams. And then the 49ers, their whole team is hurt. I was worried about them. But they're hurt. I don't got to worry about the Seahawks until the playoffs because they're not on our schedule. I think Green Bay.
Overrated.
Exactly. Green Bay has an easy schedule. I think that they can get to the playoffs if they go 14-2, 13-3, get a 1 seed, wrap that on up. They're going. AFC side, after what I saw Monday night, I don't think anybody in the AFC is like, you would have to catch them on a good day. And I think people are going to, think I'm crazy, but the Bills, they could. That's all.
Do you think they might be a little sneaker team?
Yeah, definitely. I got them winning that division this year. I think it's wide open for them. I like Josh Allen. He's a monster.
Yeah.
And he likes to run people over. I don't know why, but he does. But so my Super Bowl prediction, I'm going Green Bay and Kansas City.
Okay. All right. Well, we got that on the record. So when it comes time for Super Bowl season, we're going to be bringing that clip back up.
Bringing them back around. Yeah.
Alrighty, well, don't want to keep you too much longer. It's been so fun having you as a co-host. Thanks so much for your time and popping on. Obviously, you're welcome anytime. We can make it work. So
absolutely,
just let me know. Thanks so much for your time and all your opinions and all your love and support, of course. So everybody, make sure you please catch Electrified Podcast with Eric Lyons and hit him up on the socials, and you can catch the podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, including Sports Talk Mostly podcasts. So thanks for listening and or watching, and we'll catch you guys next episode.
Got that West Coast wave, fuck around and catch a West Coast fade. We go up, post up. Both teams played hard.